Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Academy of Astrology UK. I'm Rod Zhang, and today with me is Mandy and Marcus. Welcome back, Marcus.
Hello.
Yeah, so it's a very, very important day today because Mandy just mentioned it to me. Say today is a Friday the 13th. And my response to Monday is, I like Friday and I like 13, because it's my birthday. So I like both number when you put together.
Not today. It's not your birthday today, Rod.
No.
In case people want to send presents, it's not your birthday today.
No, it's not. It's another side, opposite side. Yeah, so okay, to base today's topic, because we noticed over the weekend and until next week we will have whole lot of quincunx, this aspect, and it's part of my minor aspect, and usually they don't use it in the traditional astrology, and so it's kind of tricky and interesting to talk about this aspect, especially I think over the weekend Sun will form a yacht together with Neptune and Pluto, and which is quite interesting, especially people like talking about yacht. Anyway, we will talk about a little bit about this, but also we will cover a little bit about, because next Monday, Marcus remind us, next Monday, Venus going to move into Libra. I say, why we talk about Libra, Venus in Libra? We just relax and just drink, drink it over. Anyway, let's start with about quincunx. But I mean, how about Monday? You start with quincunx, this aspect.
Yeah, sure. So a quincunx aspect, it's otherwise known as an inconjunct. Some of our viewers might know it as an inconjunct. It's generally more called a quincunx. And it's an aspect between two planets that are 150 degrees apart in the sky, give or take 1 degree, a couple of degrees either side for the orb. And they are planets in signs that don't share an element and don't share a mode. The elements, fire, earth, air, water, and the modes cardinal, mutable, and fixed, for example. I mean, examples to run through a few of them: Aries and Virgo, Taurus and Libra, Gemini and Scorpio, Cancer, Sagittarius, Leo, Capricorn. I'm on a roll, I might as well read all of them out. Virgo, Aquarius, Libra, Pisces, Scorpio, Aries, Sagittarius, Taurus, Capricorn, Gemini, Aquarius, Cancer, Pisces, Leo. Interesting. When you think of Taurus and Leo are in a quincunx aspect, they're both Venus. And then you think Scorpio and Aries are also in a quincunx. And they're both Mars ruled, so they share a planetary relationship, but maybe we can talk about that and throw out some ideas. Basically what they mean is they don't really see each other, because in a conjunction they're kind of merged. They don't see each other because they're together, but they're not together. They don't see each other, they're not opposites because it's not quite an opposition. They haven't got the dynamism of a square. So it's kind of a really awkward and frustrating kind of aspect. So it's kind of like the balance is hard to find. They can be quite draining, whatever that particular aspect represents in terms of the house and the planets involved and the sign involved. It can be quite draining, so you kind of need to get organized and to learn how to use the planetary energies together. I mean, they're a bit like, they can feel a little bit like an itch you can't scratch. It's kind of a nagging problems and irritations, not the drama really of a square, but that kind of nagging thing. So sort of, in your own chart, when they're in the sky, I mean, some of the ones we've got coming in the sky are very fast moving because they involve most of the they all involve outer planets with faster moving planets, so they're quite quick to move on, and they do actually turn up quite regularly in relationships. There's when you say, oh, we didn't quite see eye to eye into personal relationships, we didn't quite see eye to eye they're a bit awkward. We both had to make adjustments and compromises, but we still don't quite see eye to eye. And you do see them popping up quite a lot in interpersonal relationships. So that's kind of in a nutshell.
Yeah.
They're about.
Yeah. Well, before we move on to the detail about Quincunx and what's going to happen next week, I would like to hear, because we know this aspect doesn't appear in the traditional view, Marcus. So how does this kind of relationship, I think I heard about the term, but it is quite interesting, called aversion. It sounds something like this. Could you give us some idea about aversion?
Yeah. The answer to that is that there is no relationship in traditional astrology there, which is what aversion means. But there is an asterisk to that. So aversion just means the signs that in modern astrology would be said to be in quincunx would not have an aspect in traditional astrology. Again, there's an asterisk here, but that means they're not in opposition, they're not in square, they're not in trine, they're not in sextile. So any of the signs that are 30 or 150 degrees apart, they're either next to each other, adjacent, or 150 degrees, don't have an aspect traditionally. And the aspects were done by sign. That's another difference with traditional astrology. It was Kepler who invented the degree-based aspects, which of course do work, but in the strictest traditional sense, you do by sign, because it's really the elements of the sign which dictate whether the planets have a kind of relationship. So aversion, those planets which we're discussing, say like being in quincunx, would literally have an aversion to each other, would either not get on, would ignore each other, or would literally be kind of hostile to each other. So in a relationship chart, for example, if you see the significators, that means the planets that represent the one and the other person, in signs which are in aversion to each other, it literally means they're in aversion to each other. They either don't like each other or couldn't give a monkeys about the other person. The asterisk there is that there are a few little conditions. I'm just going to list them. I'm not going to explain them in detail because this isn't a 3-hour lecture. This is just a little 2-minute, thing, clip note thing. But the asterisk there is that some of the signs in aversion do have hidden sort of affinities with each other. One of those, and the simplest one to get your head round, is the one that Manilius called like and girdling. And those are the signs that are ruled by the same planet. So that would include Taurus and Libra, Aries and Scorpio in tradition, because they're ruled by Aries and Scorpio, both ruled by Mars in traditional astrology. Taurus and Libra both ruled by Venus. So if you've got planets like in those signs in aversion, because they're both ruled by the same planet, there is some they're a little bit more simpatico than you'd expect. Otherwise being in aversion. The other little main asterisk is a condition called anticia, which is going to take far too long to explain, so I'm not even going to go into it now, but it's essentially like little hidden aspects between planets. Those are degree based. So while they are in signs, they're also degree based. So some of the signs, I think Pisces and Libra, would they be in quincunx in modern? Are they in quincunx?
You've got Pisces, yes, absolutely.
Yes, they are.
So they in fact have an anticial connection to each other. So anticia are based on the solstice points and the length of day and night in different points in the year. So it's the times when, if the sun was in that degree, the day and night would be equal length. So for example, if the sun is at 29 Pisces, it's the same length of day and night time as if the sun was at 1 degree Libra. So they kind of mirror images. So it's a bit complicated to explain, but so there were these things in the traditional toolbox, which in my view, as a predominantly modern but traditional astrologer, I'd say were reinvented as the quincunx when those techniques were forgotten by modern astrologers. But I mean, the quincunx does work. It works perfectly well. I just choose not to use it. So
yeah,
I've got a little example actually of a quincunx, and I said they occur in relationships. It's actually Aries and Scorpio, so those two Mars ruled signs that are in quincunx, 150 degrees apart. And so this is a story from many years ago of people that I used to know a long time ago. The Aries sun person impulsively lost their temper with their partner and spontaneously threw a glass of water over their partner. The Scorpio partner said nothing, turned around and walked away. The Aries partner thought, I've got away with that. 2 hours later, Scorpio came upstairs with a bucket of cold water. You can fill in the rest. So kind of, you know, that's a true story. It's not me. It doesn't relate to me. But that's a true story. So that kind of shows you the kind of how they're both. You can see the Mars rulership of both of those signs.
Yeah.
You can see how, you know, they react and act very, very differently. That cool, calm revenge versus spontaneous burst of anger that's dissipated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how that will play out between Taurus and Libra. I mean, that. You know what I mean?
Could they be bothered?
I think it's like a cold words for them.
No,
it's more
I'm thinking more like maybe the Taurus person eats the Libra's cake or something the other way around, and then like you know, I don't know, something like that.
That's possible, you know. Yeah, that is highly likely. That's highly likely. Yes. Yeah, but this kind of a quincunx situation, both from traditional view about aversion, they can't see each other, they don't understand each other, they don't getting on well. And then when we explain by the degree base about quincunx, we have a similar interpretation about, you know, maybe like more actively we say they trying to adapt, they trying to understand each other, but they have nothing in common. Basically, it sounds very dramatic, especially, I mean, for me, it's quite interesting. Since I teaching astrology, the student like ask about the yod, you know, especially called the finger of gods. And then people are like, wow, it's kind of mysterious. Oh, I have a planet point by finger of God. Does the God give me any mission? Well, would you ever token aspect pattern in that way? Mandy?
The yod, I mean, the yod is basically 2 quincunxes. And I think, so you'll have like, it'll kind of look like that. So you'll have 2 planets in 2 quincunxes. And then you'll have, I think, a sextile between the 2 planets at the top. So the planet at the bottom is kind of the arrow, the finger of God is called sort of the apex, and it's supposed to be where all the energy of the yod flows through that apex. I'll be honest, I've yet to see a real life example where that's dramatically been played out in some life. It can behave, I think, like any kind of aspect pattern. You'll see those themes come up, but I've never seen that kind of fated drama that a lot of people seem to put onto it.
What I realize is when I read my client's chart or something, usually it's not that terrible drama, but I like the word you say, a little bit like Mandy say, a little bit like a nagging, a little bit like it's bothering inside of his heart, and it's content. Maybe it's related to the sign that those planets are located, but it's like it doesn't explore, but it's holding there, and it's like a kind of, you know, try to work out, try to adapt, but it's not an easy aspect. And also in the relationship, it's a little bit, I like Marcus used the word hostile, right? They kind of, especially I think I was wondering what's going to happen over the weekend, because Sun is hostile by both Pluto and Neptune.
I would say either hostile or indifferent, Rod. Depends
indifferent,
on context.
okay.
On context, yeah.
Yep. And what I think, because I use the word hostile, because I would like to immediately over this weekend, the Sun is like a leader, any kind of a leader, and has like faced the dilemma. He should do this, but he couldn't. But he wanted to do another way, but it's also difficult way, you know. Maybe like a humanitarian crisis versus national security or whatever. This kind of difficult things, because in one way it's Neptunian, you want to show a nice way to set up a good example or lovely and kindness, but in another way there's a crisis there trying to push you, say, oh, maybe I should defend myself, maybe I should protect my country, maybe I should, you know, kick something out. But that is kind of things that we are going to see over this weekend. But it could be quite interesting, especially the next week we have a Mars Saturn and Mars Chiron, especially Mars Chiron. I mean, we all know what happened yesterday, right? The gun shooting things.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was like, wow. Yeah. I think that usually I notice that is when every time when Mars Chiron from the aspect, something like this is going to happen. But well, happened on yesterday is not there yet.
We've also got Mars is at, I mean, this is off topic, but Mars is at the bends at the moment, right?
Yes,
Squaring the
exactly.
nodes.
Yeah, Mars square both nodes. I think I'm quite curious because I haven't mentioned about the bends. So what does that mean for you two? I heard about you two talking about that. I would just say square.
Just that, but when a planet is squaring the nodes, it's it's squaring the eclipse points. So to me, it just means it's in a sort of critical developments associated with that planet are occurring. And if it's in somebody's nativity, the things associated with that planet, the themes that it represents are they're just things that will, I don't know, be really critical at certain points in the life. I don't know other than that. And then there's some nuance about whether the planet is heading towards the south node or towards the north node as well. But mainly just that it's emphasized at that time. Usually in surprising and dramatic ways. Yeah, that's what eclipses are about.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, so it's also because we know. So we will have the interpretation of eclipse get involved. Okay, exactly. That's cool. I like this. I really like this idea. Mandy, how would you interpret about band thingy?
Very, very similar, really, to what Marcus said. It's kind of, I think once you get into things on the nose, you do find, actually, I've found personally, you do find sort of fated events a bit more than you might use the idea of the finger of God, and it, or at least events that feel like as if that was bound to happen in retrospect. That kind of thing. I think you do things coming together, people coming together, or events that are surprising potentially. And going back to the quincunx, it's interesting. I was just thinking while we were all talking. So we've got the Sun is going to be in quincunx with Neptune and Pluto. And it's interesting to look for those themes, just generally, just around you, and even things like the kind of television programs that get broadcast. There's actually a TV show that's about to start on British TV called Deceit, which is really interesting because that can be a kind of Sun Neptune, and it's about, and now the Pluto. It's about a true story. It's a true crime story. I mean, that's very Pluto. A true crime story, whereby an innocent man was tried. He may have even been convicted of a heinous murder. It wasn't him that did it, and he was trapped by what they call a honey trap. Basically, an undercover female officer. Police officer went undercover to sort of honey trap him, to sort of get to know him and to try and get him to confess to this murder. And it's told from the perspective, this story apparently is told from the perspective of the female officer, and it's about her isolation and how she was vulnerable and isolated, and she was on her own, and it was frightening, and she thought she was dealing quite intimately, I think, with this murder and this deceit, and how obviously it all kind of blew up on the police force because it turned out they convicted, or at least accused and charged the wrong man. So that's kind of, you can kind of see some of those sort of some of those really difficult, awkward, it kind of, it was awkward, it was wrong, it couldn't work out correctly in the right way, it was all a bit wrong. It was a relationship where they couldn't see each other because he saw her as someone that was really interested in him, she saw him as someone who fatally murdered another woman. It was really, anyway, it's really interesting. I might be going a bit over the top with this, but you do see those themes playing out.
What day did it air, Mandy? Because there was also a Venus Neptune opposition this week, and that sounds
it's airing tonight, Marcus.
Okay, so it's after tonight. That, so it's perfect for the yawn. And just a question, because I don't calculate the quincunxes. So is the sun in Leo or Virgo when it's making the finger of God thing? To
Sun in Leo.
And Leo, yeah.
And
Still
Sun
in
in
Leo.
Leo. And then you've got Pisces, Neptune, as we know, and then Capricorn.
So what degree of Leo is it making that yod from?
I don't know off the top of my
At
head,
this
to be
moment.
honest.
Well,
Right now?
we can count it nearly, well, yeah, Sun in Leo, Quincunx with Neptune, and
Okay.
then yes.
So that's to me like the king, the sun in Leo, or leaders, as you were saying, Rod, I think, versus Saturn, difficult social distancing policies. And there is a visible opposition between those two signs. So that is something that's much more quincunx, it may be awkward and unaddressed, but there's clear visible issues there. And then rather less obvious issues about deception, or maybe a decision to make between returning to more strict social distancing policies, retro Saturn, or Neptune in Pisces, just let the floodgates open. Or is it something to do with enforcement of social policies versus sort of hidden stuff? We're not privy, do you know what I mean? Something, but exactly what you were saying, Mandy, about the sort of, because no, is the yod between Sun, Saturn, and Neptune, or Sun, Pluto? Sun,
Pluto, Neptune.
Pluto, Neptune.
Oh, it's Pluto. So forget what I was saying about Saturn. I mean, that's kind of relevant, but it's the Pluto, Neptune. It's the
The other story that's emerged today, actually, another story that's emerged in the news today is Olympic medal winning athletes testing positive for doping.
Yes.
All right, interesting. Yeah, medal winning, that's perfect.
Gold medals, silver medals, whatever.
It's the hidden shenanigans, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it's sort of leaders or Sun Leo type people
exactly
being caught in this little bind between the hidden behind the scenes stuff. That's perfect, actually, Mandy. That's a great example.
Yes. All right.
It all comes out in the end.
Yes, that's
one way or another. Doesn't Pluto purge? Neptune deceives, but Pluto purges, right? And everything
it's kind of
comes out in the end.
Should I say this? It's kind of like a cosmic douche, really.
Yes, absolutely.
Cosmic douche. Okay, I have to move on because we also have to talk about a little bit, at least just address a little bit about Venus move into Libra, because it's nice and sweet. We don't need to talk too much, but I think that that all of us just like say something about it. What we can use in the when Venus move into Libra. How about Marcus? You want to start with it?
Okay. I mean, just generally, obviously, Venus strong in Libra. It's a very social sign. It's a cardinal sign, so it's movable. It moves fast. So it's generally a good time. In general, it will vary from person to person, obviously, depending on your chart and whatnot. But in general, it's a good time for improving social contact between people. And actually, Venus is making a trine to Saturn with reception for the first few days in Libra, which is not so much fun, but it's really good for social contracts. So if you need to make any sort of social arrangements that you don't mind rescheduling a couple of times because Saturn's retrograde, this is a good time to do that. It might be a good time to repair bridges between people and relationships that more relationships that have got a bit frosty. It's not about throwing open the doors to everyone because it's Venus to Saturn after all, but it's about just repairing some bridges a little bit, I think. So good time for social repair a little bit, I think.
Mandy?
Yeah, to add to that, really, I think Venus in Libra, I mean, it's particularly, I think when Venus is in Libra, it's about wanting to be appreciated and also showing appreciation, a lot about, that social aspect of sort of wanting to be liked, wanting to be sociable, wanting to please other people. It's quite, Venus is quite yielding, so it is about getting along with other people. It's about trying to get along with other people, so it'll be that kind of, which is quite nice. Does it overlap at all with these quincunxes? Because it might help with some of these quincunx to sort of build or rebuild some of these bridges of these kind of things, that these perhaps difficult or awkward situations or sort of relationships, perhaps, because Venus in Libra basically wants to please, wants to be admired, wants to be appreciated. So we might have some of those feelings if it picks up things in your chart. And very structured. You know, I'd say Venus Saturn is associated with beauty as well, because kind of structural beauty.
So it's different style.
Yeah.
What I think is about this Venus Saturn, because I personally have this aspect.
Yep.
Venus Saturn trine, especially trine.
Me too.
And hello. So what I think is, even as a trine, but it doesn't mean easy, because to be honest, Saturn doesn't allow easy things happen. So I mean, so Saturn is there trying to, you know, even I think when I look at this Venus, well, this Venus in Libra is not in the beginning, like you say, wouldn't be that easy, wouldn't be that relaxing, but it will be very focused on self, maybe a little bit more self-conscious, or what should I do? I want to be best, or I want to be, you know, I want to be the good one. And then I think, but after a little bit, work out, understand about, try to be yourself is the best things you can do. After that, you can more relax. That's how I see once Venus move into Libra and try with Saturn and then move on, you know, that would be a little bit of homework to do, I think. I don't want to say challenge, but a little bit of homework, a little bit of understanding of self. I think because, I mean, Saturn is in Capricorn and, no, sorry. I say Libra. Why Aquarius? What's wrong with me? I say, no, it's not. It's trine, right? Why they are Capricorn? Yeah, so this trine, you know, is kind of they hold each other. I think they at least they can understand each other. Yeah.
Definitely. And it's quite constructive actually, because traditionally Libra was Saturn's exaltation, so it'd be said to be a received trine. The only fly in it really is that Saturn is retrograde, so the results may need to be done over or repeated. So like I say, if you made some sort of social arrangement, like arranged a wedding during this period, you might have to redo the menus or reschedule it or something. But I still think it's rather constructive on the whole, because it's Venus trine Saturn. So I just think there's something really about formal, social because air, formal because Saturn, and harmony because Venus. It's kind of like a good time for sort of repairing bridges or something along those lines. Maybe organizing formal, beautiful things like social, like
spa.
That's it. Saturn has social rules. Like there's something about maybe something about discussing like social rules and norms with people in a more balanced way. The only thing that might put the fly in the ointment for that is Mars is now alone in Virgo without any moderating influence of Venus, so there's likely to be just as much, you know, critique from others.
Exactly.
But,
Yes.
I guess that trine is also a good opportunity to set boundaries in relationships and boundaries with other people. Right. And as Marcus said, it's retrograde, so you might have to set and reset, but it's that kind of, you know, going into something, or, you know, it might be, you know, the big social event and go, well, I have to leave by 10 o'clock. I can't get drunk tonight.
But that's great, Mandy. I mean, it's still it's not the kind of set and reset where it's, oh, that's messed up. It's more like, oh, okay, I'll just reschedule that. It's still got kind of a gentle feel to it. It's not horrible. It's just sort of like, oh, I'll just reorganize that. So just be mindful of that. Those next sort of from Monday for the next sort of whatever it is, week or so, from Monday to the following Monday, it's a good time for organizing pleasant social things, as long as you factor in that rescheduling, reorganizing, rethinking things a little bit. Might have to do that on your feet as you go, but that's okay.
Yeah, sometimes I think astrology sometimes it's as simple as just like in a literal way, you know, just like a retrogradation. You just do it a couple times, you know, and the Saturn is not going to scare you off. Saturn just like, okay, how about I repeat, or I just like more practice, or more carefully or formally.
Yeah.
All these kind of things. Sometimes astrology is as simple as like that. That's what we learn, and that's how we apply. So it is very good way when we chatting with friends, and we can also always bring a little bit of astrology in and think about, oh, what does that mean? What does that planet represent? And that is kind of that's how we hear every week. We're trying to bring the astrology into life, discuss about what happened at this moment with news or with what happened in the real life. So, I think it's our time. I think it's 30 minutes. So I think we want to, because it's Saturn, we want to on time. So thank you. Yeah, thank you everyone. And please, if you like our channel, please subscribe it. And we have a lot of people subscribe at this moment. We're coming up. So, and also this weekend we have Wendy Stacey talking about the outer planet circle, and also in the following week, in 2 weeks' time, we also Wendy Stacey go to the second part of outer planet circle. So please, if we still have some space, please, if you are interested in Mundane astrology, please join us. If not, I will see you next Friday. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.